Welcome to the Aquaflow Crypto Lab. Whatever the coins that you invested in, this video is for you because we are going to talk about Bitcoin, because we know that so far Bitcoin is still the king in the crypto market, still number one. So having a look at Bitcoin will give us an insight of the future of the market. And of course, we are going to dive into the XRP chart with some special analysis. So without further ado, let's get started. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. Here we are making creative analysis. And of course, if you like the content, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. So now let's get started. This is my best chart for Bitcoin. I already made a video about this. If you missed it, I put a link in the description. In today's video, we are going to mostly talk about the white line. I call it the cloud line. Why? Because the blue line, it's the skyline, okay? And it detects the tops for Bitcoin. So here we have the clouds, and the yellow line is the ground line because Bitcoin never goes below it. As you can see, it catches all the bottoms of Bitcoin. Here again, and even in the past, you see that it catches all the bottoms, right? So we know that Bitcoin never goes below the yellow line, never goes above the skyline, and is dancing around the white line. Why am I saying this? Just look. If we have a look at the past, you see that Bitcoin is dancing around the line, around the white line. Here we used it as a resistance multiple times before crossing it. Here as a resistance again. Here as a support, as a support, as a support. You see, as a resistance, as a very strong resistance here, and as a support again. So that's why you can consider the cloud line as the mean of Bitcoin, the mean of the trend of Bitcoin, because it gives us the general trend of Bitcoin. When we are too extended from it, we come back to it. Whenever it's from the top or from the bottom. You see, here we are too extended, we come back to it. Here we are too extended, we come back to it. And every time it's the same thing, guys. That's why, if history is of any indication, we know that Bitcoin tops happen in the blue area, and Bitcoin bottoms happen in the red area. Do you agree? What else can we extract from this chart? If we have a closer look at the current situation, you see that we are right on the cloud line. Okay? For now, we are below it, as you can see. But before we go further, let's have a look at the past. You see that last year, we touched the cloud line here and the second time here. At the same time, we touched the aqua line. Do you see it? It was a confluence area between the cloud line and the aqua line, and we had a strong bounce to the upside. We even made a higher high compared to the very top of Bitcoin. If we go further into the past, you see here we have a very strong rejection. Okay, we got a strong rejection and we even touched the ground line here. So the price was going like this, and after touching the cloud line we have a strong rejection. If we have a look again in the past, this is very interesting because, as you can see here, we have a strong bounce. It was again a confluence area between the aqua line and the cloud line. And as you can see, we had a bounce again. We even had another bounce here, a smaller one. And after crossing the cloud line, we got rejected to the ground line in yellow again. You see the golden line here? And remember, it was the same thing here. We got rejected to the golden line, the ground line. Let's go further again into the past. You see here again, we had a bounce, another bounce, but from here, from this candle, after having a full body below the cloud line, we went straight to the ground line again. And finally, for this situation, it was exactly the same thing. We went down after a top. We have a full body below the cloud line and we went straight to the golden line to make a low. This is exactly why, based on this pattern, I don't want to see a full body below the cloud line. For now, we crossed it. The closing price is still below the cloud line, but we don't have any full body below the cloud line yet. And I don't want to see it because we know that in the past, every time that we had a full body of a candle below the cloud line, we went straight to the golden line. Right now, the golden line is at 19,700. The red line, which is the 200 moving average, is at the same price. Okay, so we have a confluence zone right here. And if we have a look in the past, again, because you have always to look left to have an insight about what may happen in the future. So we know that here we have a confluence area between the golden line, the ground line, and the 200 moving average, and it was the bottom of Bitcoin. Here it was the same thing. So that's why we need to pay attention to this current confluence area. And one last indicator is popping up at the same time. We have the mountain indicator in green. And you know also that in the past, the mountain indicator was showing the Bitcoin bottom. Here we touched it, we had a strong bounce. Here we touched it again, we had a strong bounce. Even here we have a confluence point between the ground line and the mountain. We had a strong bounce. And here you see that we have a strong area of confluence again between the mountain, the ground line, and the 200 moving average. So if you want my honest opinion, we know that again in the past, for this situation, we had a pi cycle top. Okay, this was an intermediate top before the blow-off top after touching the skyline. And if you have a close look at it, we went up, then we got rejected, and we went to retest the cloud line one time. We had a strong bounce and we retest the cloud line before going further and before going up. Even here, we almost touch it. So now for the current situation, I would like to see Bitcoin having a strong bounce from this level because we had an intermediate top. We went straight to the cloud line. We have a strong bounce to the upside, making a higher high. And now we want to see Bitcoin bouncing off from this line. and technically we made a higher high. We still have a higher low, so technically we are still in an uptrend, but we are very, very close from the previous low, so we need to pay attention. So I don't know about you, but this situation is very uncomfortable, and I really hope that we will be able to go up from here. Bitcoin going lower than the cloud line is a warning sign. Now we don't want to see a body, a full body of a candle below this line. I hope it's clear. I will keep you up to date to see what will happen in the future. Also, you should remember that the best opportunities come in the red zone below the cloud line, because we know that every time that Bitcoin has a bottom, it is in the red area. Of course, this is not financial advice. I don't know about you, but about me, if we go in this zone in the future, for sure, I will buy some cryptocurrencies, guys. So to sum it up, I want you to do this. At home, you take the very top of Bitcoin and you draw this trend line. For now, this is a strong bearish trend. And if we want to be hopeful again, first, we have to stay above the cloud line. Second, we have to go through the trend, the current downtrend. Now, if we go further than that, our first zone of resistance is the aqua line, which is around $31,700. Okay, so we know that this is the first area of strong resistance, and it's pretty far away from this area. So I guess that if we touch it, we should have a bounce from it before going lower. That's all for Bitcoin. This is my call. I hope it's clear. If it's not, please leave me some comments and I will try to answer. Now let's move on to XRP. I'm not going to lie. Today we are going to start with the trend line analysis, and XRP, like the rest of the market, is in a very bearish situation right now. First, we know that we are still below the trend line in yellow, so that's why the market is pretty bearish. Also, as you can notice, we have the critical level. You remember that it was very, very difficult for XRP to go above this critical level because we used it as a very strong resistance multiple times, okay? And this was the first time that we went above it in a strong way. Right now, we are back at this level, and for now, it's looking very bearish because we are even below this area. Technically, we are still making higher highs. Technically, we are still making higher lows because we have a low here, a low again, and a lower low just right here. So you see that it's still an uptrend regarding the lows, but at the same time, we are making lower highs. So we definitely have a strong pressure to the downside because we have a high, a lower high, a lower high, and a lower high again. And you see how strong the slope of the trend is. Here, the lows are closer, okay, from one another. But here you see that the pressure, there is a lot of pressure to the downside, a lot of bearish pressure. So for now, the bears are winning the fight. And it's very easy to understand. If the bulls want XRP to go up, they will defend this area. They will prevent the price from going below it. If we do go below this blue area, this critical level, it will cancel all the work that we made here, okay? We will go back to this scenario, when the critical level was a very strong resistance that we couldn't break. And now at home, I want you to use this indicator. On this chart, I added a moving average in orange. This is the 180 exponential moving average on the weekly time frame. Why I'm using this? It's simple. This is the line that I used when we were here. So I don't know why, but for the Poloniex, there are some missing history, but for sure I know that when we hit this price, and it was a major bottom for XRP before going lower, we hit this moving average right here in orange, right? And we had a strong bounce. And look, right now, we are right at this moving average. And so far, we had a bounce from it. And we know that for XRP bear market, we had two phases. First, we went straight to this moving average, and then we went below it. And once we went below it, it was the beginning of the second phase of the bear market with a new low. That's why if we want XRP to go up, we don't want to go below this line. We want to keep it as a strong resistance. And you see that this line is going into the critical area, and at the same time, we are retesting it. So we want to hold this line. And here you can see it even better. We are on the monthly time frame. And as you can see, during this first phase of the bear market, we went straight to the green line, which is the 33 monthly exponential moving average. Okay, so we went straight into it. We had a strong bounce. Then we used it as a strong support for multiple months in a row. But when we crossed it and we had a full body below the line, then it was the second phase of the bear market and we had a new low. So we know that currently XRP is in a very strong area of support because it is in the critical level. And as you can see here, just right here, it was a strong support before having a strong bounce to the upside. And right now we are at the moving average, the green moving average, which should be a very strong support, as you can see here, because we pierced it and we had a strong bounce and a close above the critical level. And ideally, I want to see XRP having a bounce and closing above the critical level. This would be a very strong sign that the bulls are defending this zone and that they want XRP to go up from here. What about this chart? We know that this chart is telling us that XRP is in a bear market. Why? Because the blue line is the bull bear market line, and as you know, since the very beginning of December last year, we crossed the bull bear market line, and ever since we've been below it. And as you can notice, we crossed it, then we used it as a resistance before going lower. In addition, as you see now, the middle line, the zero line of this indicator is red. And we know that in the past, when it turned red, we know that we were in a bear market. That's why this chart is pretty bearish. I'm not going to lie. I hope that we will be able to bounce off from this level. But for now, as you see, we were ranging into the band for multiple weeks in a row. And for the first time, XRP is about to close below the band. That's why here we have a red line. So from the last chart, we know that we touched here with the wick a strong area of support, but at the same time, now we have a lot of resistances above us. For all of these reasons, I think that XRP is pretty bearish, and if we want to go up, we first have to have a battle with all these levels, and that's why it will be pretty difficult. So if I had to sum it up, what can we say? First, the bearish signs. We have the last resistance. We touched it multiple times, but every time we got rejected to the downside. Okay. Next, we have the bull bear market line in blue. And right now we are below it. We tested it as a resistance and we got rejected. And finally, we are below the bull bear market band, and the last time we were there, it was in 2020. And now let's talk about the bullish signs. Well, we don't have much. We just know that we have a lot of support in this area and that we are still making higher lows. Except from this, I'm sorry, but I don't know what to say. Last thing I want to share with you is the ground line. Of course, we have also a ground line for XRP. We know that in the past, it catches very bottoms for XRP. Here it was a local bottom, another local bottom, the major bottom for this bear market, then the SEC sell-off bottom. And right now we know that if the price goes lower, this price should be a very strong area of support. And next week we know that it will be at $0.44. Of course, this is not financial advice again, but it gives us some information about what could happen in the future. But I honestly hope that the price will be able to bounce from here and that we will never touch this area. Of course, the future is not mine. All I can try to do is to make analysis from the past. So I hope that we will be able to make new highs in the future months, but if we don't panic. It will be an amazing opportunity for you to buy at lower prices. That's all for today's video. Please give me a thumbs up if you like the content. Don't forget to subscribe if it's not done yet. Thanks for watching. Do not ever be afraid to make new experiments, and if someone tells you you're crazy, just tell them. Time will tell.